We are chilling with ice.
Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Fetrick, and welcome to Chillin' with Ice. And on our podcast today, we have a very special guest. Her name is Elena, and she's from Every Kid Sports, which is the charity that is involved with my children's book called The Playground Warriors. So, Elena, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I really appreciate it. And we're going to get into Every Kid Sports and how you got involved and what their mission statement is. How are you doing today?
Hi, Lori. I'm great. Thank you for having me. We're excited to be here.
Thank you. So tell me a little bit about how you got involved with Every Kid Sports.
Yeah, so I started at Every Kid Sports 7 years ago. We were at that time a very small nonprofit located in Central Oregon, and we were helping kids get access to sports. That came about when our founders started getting their kids in sports. And when they were in sports, they needed volunteer coaches, and the parents were just like, oh my gosh, I guess that's me. I'm going to have to jump in and do that role. So they jumped in and immediately realized how many kids were being sidelined in sports because of the cost to get into play. And so our founders had two ideas. One, they believed every kid deserves the chance to play sports. And second, they believed if they came together and they worked together, they could create access and correct the problem that's keeping kids sidelined. So Every Kid Sports was born. And we were really small, and we were working in Central Oregon, and I came on as, honestly, I don't even know my title at the time, because when you come on to a nonprofit that's small, you do everything. So I think it had something to do with programming, but when I came on, there was 4 people at the organization, 2 founders, a bookkeeper, and myself. Now, fast forward to 2024, 7 years later, I have recently stepped into the role as executive director for Every Kid Sports. And I'm very excited to do so. And we're a national nonprofit helping kids across the country have access to sports through the Every Kid Sports Pass program.
Thank you. I am so excited to be with you guys too. And we wanted to, I wanted to grab a charity and connect it with my children's book. And we were out there searching for a long time. And when we came up into and found your charity, I was so excited about this because growing up as a kid, and I mean, I played it, I tried to play every sport there was, whatever season it was, softball, basketball, volleyball, but I know my family didn't have a lot of money. Were we poor? Not necessarily, but we were on the verge of that a little bit, to where everything was accounted for, all money was accounted for. And I know back then it was just joining the team and maybe getting a uniform or something like that. It wasn't that much money, but yet at the same time, it really made a difference. So I can only imagine what it costs today to actually put a kid on a team and to play sports. I mean, what are we talking here? Like, I know every sport is different, but like, what would be something like a kid wants to play softball, for instance? Let's say a little girl wants to go out and play softball. I mean, what does it cost them nowadays to actually get involved in something like that?
Yeah, that is a fantastic question. And that answer is so vast.
Mm-hmm.
Even for if we just pull it down to one sport like softball.
Mm-hmm.
I just recently registered my 2 girls for softball this past spring, and it was about $105 for rec softball. Now, there's everywhere in between: travel softball, elite softball, specialty softball. And so you're looking at starting as some leagues in a real community based, maybe at a Boys and Girls Club that's supporting a lot of the funding, you can get it closer to that $75, but it's very rare. 100 is a really good price, honestly. But it's going to go up into the thousands of dollars to get kids just registered to play on a team if they're looking at a travel or a elite or a club type team. So it's all over the gambit. But at Every Kid Sports, we're really helping kids on that recreation level,
Mm-hmm.
because we're providing up to $150. And then when you do $150, that's going to make the difference. And if that kid can play softball that year, whereas if you're doing a travel team, that's just a very small fraction of the cost. So pricing is just it, and it's getting higher and higher, and
Of
COVID
course.
didn't help that.
Of course. And $150 for a family, a household that actually has no money whatsoever is a huge deal. So the people that donate to your charity and everything, I mean, this is something to where it's like, I was thinking about this the other day, and we had sponsors and we tried to bring in different companies to buy the uniforms and everything. But sometimes that just doesn't happen. And you do leave kids behind, unfortunately. So tell me a little bit about the mission, excuse me, the mission and the vision of the company.
Love that. So the mission of Every Kid Sports is how I talked about the founders. It is that every kid deserves that chance to play sports. And so we are providing that access to kids from low income families to play sports. That is the mission, is to help as many kids as we can, with the goal of eventually getting to 100,000 kids a year that we can support annually, which is a big ask. The bigger vision for Every Kid Sports, we're going into our 4th year as a national nonprofit. As I kind of mentioned, we started really small and now we're a national nonprofit. So we're going into our 4th year, and in looking into the future, what we're starting to learn is when you're paying a registration fee for a kid to play, and the league isn't having to figure out how to scholarship that one kid. And sometimes even it's up to 90% of the kids in a league are being scholarshipped. So that's a huge burden on the league. So what we're learning is when we're helping these kids in these leagues, not only is that kid having access to sports and all the benefits that you get from playing sports, but the family is now benefiting from that child playing and seeing academic results change and seeing their other kids now getting interested in sports. But even bigger than that, Lori, we're seeing a community change. And what I mean by that is we recently learned from a league that was scholarshiping all their kids. They're in their 4th year of getting support from Every Kid Sports. And now through that, they've been able to get brand new equipment for the kids through just paying the registration fees. And they've been able to build enough to ask their local bank for a loan. And so now they're getting a loan that they are demolishing their baseball field and creating a new field for the community. And in that community with that field is going to also have a concession stand. And that concession stand is also going to generate revenue so they can keep the field moving. So we're looking moving forward. What is paying a registration fee for 1 kid, 2 kids, 3 kids? What is that doing in a grander scale? As I just mentioned, what is that doing for the whole community? So that's our vision moving forward, is what can we learn from just this one thing is making a large impact.
That's absolutely incredible. I mean, it just touches my heart that you guys are doing this, because of the fact that, like I said, when I was a kid, sports was everything to me. And like what you were just saying, excuse me, about how their grades, it impacts their grades and impacts everything. Because again, I'm going to speak from personal, and that was the only reason, to be quite honest with you, I kept my grades up to a certain level, was to play sports. You have to go to that average level. And if I didn't have sports, I'd have been like, I wasn't that kid. That's all I wanted to play was sports. So I can see it. I mean, it's super important. And many, many, many years ago, when I heard they were taking out a lot of the sports out of schools, I was just like, oh my God, that's the worst thing you could possibly do for a child. It creates camaraderie. It creates the team aspect. It creates teaching these children how to play together, in an environment which transforms going into the work environment later on in their later years. So I absolutely love what you guys are doing. I love this charity, and that's why I'm so behind it. And I absolutely think it's so important for people to get behind it. Now, I do have some questions here that I know that are going to go into this, and that is programs and initiatives. What are some of the key programs and initiatives that Every Kid Sports offers to help children participate in sports?
Yeah. So really, we try to keep it really simple. We offer one program, which is called the Every Kid Sports Pass. And that is offered 3 times a year. We open it seasonally, just kind of like the sports seasons go. So we open it for fall sports, winter sports, and then spring sports. And how that program works is any kid who is currently receiving Medicaid, SNAP, or WIC qualifies for the Every Kid Sports Pass. Their family comes onto our website when that application is open seasonally. and they can submit an application to receive funding for the sport that they're interested in. That application takes about 5 minutes. We try to make it really simple, as technology is a barrier to families. And so we do try to make that really simple for our families. And over the years, we have seen, when we opened the Every Kid Sports Pass 4 years ago, it was kind of a trickle effect of who was coming in. We were brand new in the space and trying to reach out to people. And this fall, we're going to open late July for our fall pass. And we will see about 25,000 kids coming onto the site requesting funding. And we will not be able to support all of those kids, but we want to, and we have the programming to do so. We just need to get to, getting people to know about what we're doing and jump on board of, they want to be a donor. They want to make the difference in a child's life. So that's our main program, is the Every Kid Sports Pass.
That's awesome. And I hope by, obviously me finding out about your program and getting it out there more people can donate. It's okay. So I'm just this isn't on my list of questions, but what is a good average donation that somebody can make to your charity?
Yeah. So like I mentioned, the $150 is what we scholarship up to $150. Not all kids need it, but that $150 is going to get a kid playing in a season. However, if 1 million people gave $1 every month, we are going to make a huge difference getting kids playing every single year. And we can all give $1. Maybe you even have $2 you can give, but signing up for a small monthly donation, it might not feel like you're making that huge impact because you're like, it's only $2. But if you just start today and you just donate $2 today and you tell somebody else to, that builds. And all of a sudden we are helping 100,000 kids play every year.
See, that is impressive. I love that. Tell me a little bit about the impact that this has had. Do you have some success stories or one or two that stand out that you can share?
Love to share our success stories. We get so many, but I also want to put out there that we're really respectful in the process with our families. I'm just going to kind of preface with our testimonials. When families come to apply for our program, we allow them to stay anonymous. It's really hard to identify that you need help, especially financially, and share your story of why. We understand that, and we don't want that to be a barrier as to why a kid isn't playing. So we allow the process to be very anonymous. However, we also ask our families, would you like to share your story? And we give them multiple opportunities to do so if they're interested, because sharing their stories is what helps people understand that sports are changing lives for kids. So one of my favorite stories that we actually got not too long ago is from the Workman family. And they're down in Texas and they have 6 kids. And through the Every Kid Sports Pass, they no longer have to choose which kid is going to play. Even that year or that season, all 6 kids are having an opportunity to play, from softball to soccer. And their youngest, Tavion, he's 4 and he was born blind, but he still hopes that one day he will be a power lifter. And that's adorable. And it's so amazing to think that, this family who was trying to get their oldest kid, who's 16, to continue softball because she wants to get to college, to join the Navy. And that's where their focus was for her. They now get to have all 5 kids interacting with sports. And that's changed what they do on the weekends. They now all come together every Saturday and Sunday and go watch each other play sports. And they go to the park and they play soccer together. And so sports has changed the family dynamic. Instead of just going for one kid and making it about them, it's made it a whole family event. So that's one of my favorite stories.
I love that. That is so sweet. That is so cool. And to know that you're actually like impacting these children's lives. Like that girl that's going to go, she'll go on to college, she'll go on to the military, and what you're doing by helping her achieve these things is insane. That is such a great story. Tell me about some of the partnerships. Like, for instance, the collaborations with schools, sports leagues, other organizations to reach more children. How are you doing that?
Great question, Lori. We have a huge demand for our program. So when we first started 4 years ago, Dick's Sporting Goods came on and helped us be a national nonprofit by giving Every Kid Sports a large grant to do so. We all thought that that money was going to last at least 3 years. We went through the funding in a year and a half. And that was, we spent a small portion of our time reaching out to national youth sports groups. So, youth boxing, youth cheerleading, youth football, youth soccer, and reaching out and letting them know what we were doing. A very small amount of time. And we found that we went through the money in half the time we thought we would. And ever since then, we haven't done outreach anymore because the amount of kids and families that are coming to us for support outweighs the funding we're receiving. And you can imagine you're in a spot that you're just trying to get your kid to play. You're waiting to get a grant in, you get one in and it gets declined. That's a terrible feeling. You get really hopeful, you get really excited, you share it with your kid, and then we run out of funding. And that's heartbreaking.
Okay. So that's why the only reason they would be denied is if you guys ran out of funding then. Okay. Yep. So it sounds like that's one of your biggest challenges.
Yep, absolutely.
Is so many families are coming to you, but yet the funding is just not there. So we just need to get your charity out there to everyone,
Absolutely.
and make sure that, everybody knows that they can, they can donate $1, $2, $5, 10, 20, whatever it may be, to help these families and to help the children actually out there play sports. Is there an age range? Okay, tell me the age range.
So our program is for any kids that are 4 to 18 years old. So we help the whole gambit. And we see that the biggest question we get about the older kids is, do we support high school sports, the pay to play fees? Absolutely. We will pay to play fees for middle school. Middle school sports is trying to make a comeback. A lot of states are pushing that, and we want to support that because kids are dropping out at age 13. And so we want to support them continuing in middle school and into high school.
So it's amazing. What's amazing to me is that, and I don't know if it's out there, is there any government funding for kids to play sports at all? No. I didn't think so. We suck. I mean, it's insane. I mean, sports is so important. It's so important for kids. I mean, it's crazy. Okay, so let's go into the role of the sport of sports. Okay, so in your experience, what are some of the key benefits of sports participation for children beyond just physical health?
Yep. So emotional, cognitive, social, all key benefits of sports. One of my favorite sports stats is that 94% of women in C-suite positions have played youth sports. And so that speaks volumes to what sports are doing and where it's creating emotional, social, intellectual experiences for kids, especially for girls to develop, sense of self-confidence and self-esteem, and boys as well. I just spoke with a grandma who she's fostering her grandson right now, and he's in the house with 3 other girls. And she's like, he just wants to do something. So she got him into karate, and he's been doing karate for about a year now. And he comes home and tells his grandma that he's so happy with who he is. And that's one of the great things about sports and karate specifically, and martial arts, is teaching kids about self-esteem and having confidence and using their skills to improve their mental health.
So I have a twofold question here. One is, are there any sports that are not included in your program? Okay, let's go there first, because you mentioned karate, you mentioned martial arts, and I'm the type of person that I'm not saying I'm old school, but yet what I played, so I automatically go to softball, basketball, but there are so many. There's soccer, there's karate, so if you can name some of the sports, is there any sport that's excluded from your list?
No. And so let me give you some context around that question, because it is one of my favorite questions to talk about.
Good.
You are right. When people think Every Kid Sports, you go to what the top 10 sports are: basketball, football, soccer, baseball, And we support those, and we support those heavily because that is what's happening, where kids are going in our nation. That's wonderful. However, Every Kid Sports has supported 73 different sports and activities.
That's crazy. Can you
And
name 50 of them? I'm kidding.
how much time do we have?
I know, right?
I will say too, and this is to your question of like, what won't you fund? We've been, I'll say stuck, but it's not really stuck, but at 72 sports for years. And this past spring, we just supported a girl who requested support for hooping, which is hula hooping. And so she does training and events to do hula hooping and be active through hula hooping. And we want to support that initiative. We do step dance. We do archery. We do field hockey. We volleyball, horseback riding. We do it all.
Okay. So I have a child, let's say, my child is 7 years old, and my child comes to me and says, I want to learn how to surf. Okay. As a parent, I'm like, okay, well, that's expensive. I don't know if we can afford this. Where would I even go? And what would be the steps, to want to get funding? Let's say that, I don't know, it's going to cost my kid $300 to take surfing lessons for the summer. How does a parent go about, finding you, and if surfing qualifies?
Yeah. So step one, if anybody is interested in getting their kid to play, especially a new sport, we love supporting multi-sport athletes. Try something different, use your body differently. And we love that. And so step one is find a program in your area. Find something that is doable, and for logistics of getting your kid there, financially, it's within a realm that you think is doable for you, and get them. See if all that fits. Once all of that fits for your family, go to everykidsports.org and look at our FAQs to see when we're going to open next, when funding will be available, and if the sport does qualify. Like I said, we have supported the 73 different sports. And so when we get a new application in and we see what comes in, we look at it. We do a little bit of research if we've never heard of it before and need to learn about it. And then we make a decision if that is approved. And more than likely it's going to be, because we want to help the idea of that kid participating in something that's getting them out, moving their body, improving their mental health and their physical fitness and social skills as well. So more than likely it's going to get approved.
See, that's amazing, because I will tell you this. When I started playing softball when I was in fourth grade. How old are we at fourth grade? How old is that? I don't even remember.
9.
9. Okay. So like I said, my parents didn't have a lot of money or anything, but they just thought, oh, it's just, for physical fitness, or let's get her out of the house. It's almost like a babysitting type of thing for them. But my point on this is if I didn't get involved in sports and I didn't push it with my parents, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. There is absolutely no way that I would have become a gladiator, that I would have done what I'm doing in my life, physical fitness, trainer, all these different things. And it all came from me wanting to play softball when I was in fourth grade, and I just think that it's so important for parents to understand it's not just about playing the sport. It really isn't. It is about getting out there and being physically fit, which really is a big issue nowadays, because all their kids are on their phones and, iPads and everything. They don't want to go outside. So I just, if parents understand a little bit more, then it's more than just wanting to entertain their child, with a sport. And maybe that sport doesn't fit. Prime example. I know my girlfriend has a son, and he's been in my life around since he's 4 years old. He's tried baseball, didn't like it. Okay, let's see. Is he a football player? No. Does he like martial arts? Oh my God, he likes martial arts. And so what parents need to think and realize as well is that maybe if one sport doesn't fit for the child, try another sport. If that doesn't fit, try another sport. But get them involved in something that's going to be outside of their household. Okay. And they're going to have another coach, because let's be real. it's called, what is it? Deaf ear to the parent. It's like, a coach can tell a child something and the child's going to listen rather than if a parent says, do this, do that, they're going to go, yeah, whatever, So coaches help actually, evolve and stimulate the brain and the physical aspect of the child as well. Tell me a little bit about what your future plans are for Every Kid Sports.
Yeah, so I kind of brought it up a little bit, and so I'll just revisit it. But
Yeah.
our plans are this year, last year we supported 17,000 kids. This year we're looking to support 25,000 kids. And by 2030, we want to be helping up to 50,000 kids. 100,000 would be great. But we're going to shoot for 50. And with that, we also want to, or what we are implementing now is what we can add to our application that can help understand how sports are in fact changing lives. So if we're getting 25,000 kids a year, how our families can help us understand and teach the United States about youth sports, that it is more than being just physically active and having a babysitter or something else to do, that it truly is changing lives. And hopefully we can also tell the story of how it's changing communities across the United States by doing one thing, just getting access to sports. There's a lot of issues with sports. Sports are expensive. You have to buy equipment. You have to have fields available. You have to have lights turned on during the winter. But when a team can pay every kid's registration fee, packed in those registration fees are things like equipment and fields and lighting. So that's where we're going after, is how can we make a difference in the whole space by doing this one thing?
That's awesome. Tell me if somebody wants to get involved in your charity rather than, let's say they give a donation, but yet they really want to do more. Is there something that, parents can get involved with? How can they get involved with your charity other than just giving a donation, let's say?
Yeah, so Every Kid Sports, like I said, has been around for 13 years. And in those first years, we did not want to tap the public for a lot of donations. There's a lot of nonprofits. There's a lot of asks. There's a lot there. And so we went after corporate social responsibility mostly. What we're learning, though, is we need to get the public to know about what Every Kid Sports is doing, that we are available and that we have like-minded individuals and community members and small businesses that all want to be a part of this movement of getting access to kids, and that we can all do it together. So if somebody's interested in helping Every Kid Sports, one of the things that we really need help with is getting the word out about who we are and what we're doing, and that we're making a huge impact in a small little community in Central Oregon, with a team of 8 people. We are running this national nonprofit, just trying to provide access and let people know that that's what we're doing. And if you do have the means or know someone with the means, make a connection for us. We would love to talk to more people about what we're doing so we can help every league. And what I like to think about the organization is when Every Kid Sports is around, access to sports is available in every community. And so let's make that access available everywhere by creating a large community of donors and members who just want to share our mission.
Beautiful. I'm going to ask one last question here, and that is, hypothetically, let's say there's a family out there and they make medium money, let's say. However, with that medium money, okay, they have 5 kids, they have bills, 2 parents are working. And so they're thinking, oh, I can't apply for this because they're just going to turn me down right away because my income's a little too high. Does that come across come across all the time, or how do you handle that? So in other words, what I'm trying to say is I want families and parents to understand, don't not apply just because you think you make too much money.
Yeah, so Every Kid Sports determines if a child is eligible by using a metric of if a child is already enrolled in Medicaid, SNAP, or WIC. And you can be enrolled in Medicaid for a multitude of reasons that have nothing to do with income. For instance, if you have a disability or if you're a foster child, you are automatically qualified for Medicaid, and we will support all those children. And the way we like to look at it is if we can help the kids who are, in receiving Medicaid, SNAP, and WIC, which have their own income verification and restrictions. If we can help them, then your local league can help the kids that are in the middle ground that maybe just need help for a season or in this moment, or they just lost their job or got into a car accident, and all those other scenarios that happen, because we can help with all the other kids. And so then it's not putting such a burden on the league, that the league can hear those individual stories and say, you know what, we do have a little extra funding. And they do, because now more kids are paying their fees. So it opens up that scholarship arm at a local level, because we can do it at a larger scale.
Mm. Perfect. I love that. So perfect. Elena, thank you so much for coming on today and talking about Every Kid Sports. And now tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find the organization, how they can donate, give everything. It's going to be all in the show notes, but let's tell them anyway.
Yeah, so you can find Every Kid Sports at Every Kid Sports with an S at the end, .org. And when you go to our homepage, we have a nice red donate button at the top. And you can also just learn about everything we do, our program, our why, our testimonials, our stories. And if you're just interested in kind of figuring out a little bit more about us, at the bottom of the page, you can subscribe for our newsletter, and you can get it's just a monthly newsletter that updates you on who our new partners are, like Lori, and, helping Playground Warriors, and how we can collaborate together, and stories from our kids. So subscribe to our newsletter and share our stories on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, and get the word out about us.
Thank you so much for coming on Chilling with Ice today. And we're going to get this out to as many people as possible. So I really appreciate it. Super excited to partner with you guys on the Playground Warriors. So thank you so very much. I appreciate it. And do you have any questions for me before I let you go?
Lori, I do want to tell you, thank you. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts at Every Kid Sports for connecting what you're doing with Playground Warriors, and writing this story, and wanting to do more for kids, and taking that step with us. So thank you for having me on. Thank you for letting me talk about Every Kid Sports. And I do want to know, what is your favorite Gladiator moment?
What is my favorite Gladiator moment would be, the biggest one that stands out is playing at Madison Square Gardens on our tour. I mean, that is the biggest moment. Walking out on that floor in New York, Madison Square Gardens, having it full, like sold out, and having people just chant ice, ice, ice. And just, I don't know, it's just the most surreal moment of my entire life. That's the Gladiator moment. And yet my most embarrassing moment in my life as well, at the same place.
You can have those at the same time. That's amazing.
That's well, because what happens is on our tour, the arena's dark, and all of a sudden the music's playing, and they're introducing each gladiator, and the spotlight hits them. Well, when they introduced me and the spotlight hit me, and I was like running out, woohoo! All of a sudden I hit a cable or something, and poosh, fell right on my face in front of, I don't know how many people, 15, 20,000 people. But it was embarrassing for me. But the funny thing was, people were like, well, no, you're running out the spotlight. And all of a sudden you just disappeared out of the spotlight. And I was like, thank God they didn't see me fall on my face then. But it was a great ride. Still a great ride to this day. Completely changed my life. And like I said, it's a very true statement. I would not be where I'm at today if I did not play sports. It has created me to be who I am. So I just want to encourage everyone to really take a look at this charity and donate whatever you can donate, and get involved in however you can get involved, because I'm involved now. So we're really going to push this out there, and I'm really excited to be partners with you guys. So thank you so very much. And we'll talk Gladiator stories later on.
Great. Can't wait.
I love that. Thank you so much. And everyone, thanks for listening to Chillin' with Ice. And this is where legends live on. Have a great day.
We are chilling with ice.